So our message this morning in our I Spy series part 4, kids, you can hit it. Hit it. So our message this morning is, you'll see a note card that you can insert in your bulletin. Is God your co-pilot? We've all seen the bumper stickers and heard all the, the debate over time. People, talking different things about God being our co-pilot. I've heard people say, well, God can't be the co-pilot, he should be the driver, right? Amen. So that's in part true, but common sense would tell us that if we literally hand the wheel over to God, we're probably crashing off the road, right? Because God is with us in the Holy Spirit. So physically, not that he's not capable of, but that's not the point here. The point is to understand our relationship with him and his direct influence on us, and how we should attempt to carry ourselves in a manner that's we're capable of achieving what he wants us to achieve. And so it's very complex and it's very simple at the same time. He can't possibly be our co-pilot because he's not our equal, right? He's much greater than we are. We can't even fathom we look upon him with awe and understanding that he is so much greater than we could even, conceptualize, right? So how could he possibly be in seat or, our equal, right? Easy. That part's easy. The hard part is that as we go through our daily lives, we make daily decisions, we have a tendency to rely on our own input in all things that we do, instead of stopping, pausing, and taking a moment to ask ourselves, and to pray on even the simplest of things. And believe me, we're all fallible. We all make this mistake. And it could be something simple, the most random of thing. Should I take this route to work? Should I take that route? Well, we make the decision, right? And maybe we'll hit traffic, maybe we won't. But if we give God the credit and we give him the honor and asking him and praying about those types of decisions, even the simplest, it doesn't have to be a 5-minute prayer, but Lord, should I go this way or that way? Maybe there's something there that he wants us to feel and do, and so we have to look for those opportunities to do what God wants us to do. And it's a hard concept. It's hard for me as I was, reading this through. Most of my sermon today is through Proverbs, and there are a lot of profound but also simple, concepts and understanding how to accomplish this. So, first off, it's important that we. I don't know how to use this thing. We'll figure it out right now. Sorry. So our first note is that we should not go through life leaning on our own understanding of anything, even the simplest thing. Instead, we need to rest our full weight on the Lord, which means we give him everything we have. And in turn, he'll guide us. There was the story of Albert Einstein. He was on a train heading to a destination, and he was looking for his ticket to show the conductor, and he couldn't find his ticket. And the attendant and the conductor told him, Mr. Einstein, we know who you are. Don't worry about finding your ticket. Well, some time passed, and they're traveling now, and they came back, and they found Mr. Einstein on the floor, scrambling around on the floor looking for his ticket. And he couldn't find it still. And he's just fervently looking for it. Right, Mr. Einstein, we told you, you don't need to find your ticket. We know who you are. Just rest easy. We don't think you're, scamming us or whatever. And he said, young man, it's not a matter of honesty. It's a matter of direction. I don't know where my destiny. I don't know what stop I'm supposed to get off. So, with that, we don't know what our destination is going to be, right? I mean, so we need to look to God to find out what's on our ticket. Sorry, I'll figure this out in a second. So, in his heart, man plans his course, but the Lord determines his steps. There's a game that's we call it a game in our day and age, but craps, a game of dice, which throughout the Bible, there was a similar game. It wasn't a game, but it was an actual method of determining all sorts of things. It's called casting lots. In the Old Testament, when the Jews needed to make a decision, they casted lots. It was practiced by the Jews and by pagans as well. But the lots themselves were these smooth stones, and they were all white, these white stones. And in the lot of stones, there was one dark colored stone. A black, usually black or dark color. And when they're trying to pass judgment, so there's a group of people and they all could be guilty of the crime. We don't know who caused this, malady or who was guilty of something. They would pass out the lots, sort of like drawing straws, but with these stones. And they would pass them out, and whoever would draw the black stone would be the one who is guilty. And it also could be for good things too. It would be whoever's the heir to properties or things of that nature. They would use it for that purpose as well. And that led to the term blackballing. You got blackballed. Well, that we still use to this day. But the thing of note is, in the movie Forrest Gump, there's a line where he says, we roll the dice, but God determines the numbers that come up, right? So he already knows, it's predestined. And you'll find that casting lots, that terminology used over and over and over in the Bible. And it was a real way for them to, and it was divine, it was written in the Bible, and it's for real. So, with that, we don't have, this is back in, pre-Christ, so, 7, 8, 10,000. What is that? Oh, that's good. I was just making sure it wasn't me. I was like, oh, this is my alarm. I usually up before this time. Phew. Sorry. So anyway, the thing to note is that in his heart, man chooses his plans, and he can plan his course, but the Lord chooses what the numbers are, right? Technologically challenged this morning. And just like, with that said, there's some other bad habits that we have to keep from falling into when we're talking about, our planning. Okay, so one of the worst things to do is to do nothing, right? Laziness is a bad habit, but it's also a threat to the Lord. We can, by not doing anything, we actually are doing something very bad. There was a story of a Finnish farmer who had given his inheritance. He left his farm. He had no family, I guess I don't really know if he did have family, but he left his farm to the devil. And after several years of deliberation and figuring out what they were going to do with this man's farm, they left it to grow weeds and just become overgrown and rot away. And so when we leave things to the devil, that's what we do. We don't do anything. We are lazy and we lounge our life away. In Proverbs 6 verse 9, it says, how long do you plan to lounge your life away, you lazy fool? Will you ever get out of bed? You say, a little sleep, a little rest, a few more minutes, a nice little nap. But soon, poverty will be on top of you like a robber. Need will assault you like a well-armed warrior. So here we see that it's not just a bad habit, being lazy, it's a clear and present danger. Since the beginning, God made us in His image to create and tend to His good creation. In other words, He made us to work. It is in our spiritual DNA, and we must do it, work, in order to be who God made us and to fight off the threats of poverty and want. God has also created the Sabbath as a space for us to rest. Rest, of course, just as He rested on the seventh day. So that's one other pitfall. So in the I Spy thing, what I'm trying to identify here, and I'm not doing a fantastic, most bestest job, because I didn't put gajillion hours into this, because I worked 60 plus hours this week. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is there's the I Spy portion of this is spying what we need in our lives to correct our course as we go about our daily plans. It's not just, planning is anything as significant as, what are we going to do when we're retired, and how am I going to get to where I'm retired? As many of us think about those types of things. Or it could be, how are we going to get to the mission field? With you guys. It could be, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with our life and our kids to make sure that they're safe and comfortable? It's all those sorts of things. And with that, if we always identify, we can look to all these resources that we have right here, and we can find the answers, through God on how we need to go about making those correct decisions. I don't have all the answers for you, and I look to this myself, but I also am human and I'm fallible, and I'm trying to identify with some of these things myself and fix them in my own life. So it's important to know that we're not perfect, but it's also important to know that no matter what decision we make, whether we make the right turn or the left turn, or we choose this route to work or that one, or we choose that financial plan or that one, or we give our kids some advice in this manner or that, the most important thing to remember is that God's outcome is willed in that decision. So it's going to come out. In the end, what He wants us and what the Lord wants to happen is likely to happen, if we have Him at the center of our decision. So our plans may take us in a totally different direction than what we thought they would. We can have our eye on a specific mechanism that we want to happen, and it might not work out at all because He's got something else in mind for us. But the Lord puts us exactly where He wants us to be. So that's totally important to understand, because we may not feel like this is right, or we may feel like something is off, but we have to give it our full our full attention and really, focus in prayer on it, because oftentimes we find that we're exactly where we need to be. We don't realize it at the time, but there's something else at work in the background we don't see. That's one of the things with myself in my own life. I was struggling to do, things, in the ministry here and with, the nonprofit, with the Embrace and doing other things. And I was burning the candle at both ends. And I just, I had to stop for a minute and take my foot off the gas and realize that that's important stuff, but it's also important to grow where you're planted. It's whatever you're doing in your life at that time to actually, grow spiritually in that place. And that's what is intended. So if there's something that needs to happen and there's an obstacle or doors, our Father can open the doors that seem closed tight. And He can remove any obstacle that stands in our way. Do you believe that? Amen.
Nice.
So, I'm not saying that we just, randomly go through life and just pray, and we're not lazy and we whatever. We have to make plans. We can't just grow where we're planted, not be lazy. There's other facets too. It's intended that we do plan. It's essential to develop a plan of direction for our lives and transport our desire in order to get transported to our desired destination. A plan is simply a roadmap for getting to our desired destination. One example of this is with the story of King Solomon. King Solomon demonstrates wisdom in his career, and he has a clear objective. And I'm just giving you this as an assimilation to how maybe we should, look at our own intentions and how we may prosper or glorify God. So he called the people together and he said, "Behold, I intend to build a house for the name of the Lord my God." So Solomon had a clear objective. He knew what he wanted. He wanted to build a house, a temple for the Lord. He did not over-spiritualize his dream, saying if the Lord wants the temple built, it will happen. It's going to be God's will. None of that stuff. He looked at Solomon and he developed a plan. He gathered the necessary resources. They cut the timbers from Lebanon. They organized the people. Solomon assigned 70,000 men to carry loads, 800,000 men to carry quarry stone to the mountain, and 3,600 people to supervise them. He designed the facility, so he had a clear drawing of what he was doing. He set a time to begin his project, and he completed the project. Thus, all the work that Solomon performed for the house of the Lord was finished. Solomon clearly understood the importance of developing a plan. Plans go wrong for lack of advice, but many counselors bring success. You can make many plans, but the Lord's purpose will prevail. Plans succeed through good counsel, and don't go to war with the advice of others. Good planning and hard work lead to prosperity, but hasty shortcuts lead to poverty. With all that lesson, basically, those who we are with, so we look around the room, this is it. We're all together in this, in this journey of faith. And we need to be actively involved and actively listening to one another and sharing ideas, sharing wisdom, and going forth with a plan that we set. Not spinning our wheels in motion, not sitting on our laurels, but devising a plan, not over-spiritualizing, not giving too much to that, because you can have all the prayer in the world, but without some action, nothing is going to happen, right? Just like if God's sitting next to you in the seat as your co-pilot and you hand him the wheel, vehicle is likely not to stay on the road, right? Because it doesn't work that way. With that, the Lord can take our choices and fit them into His plan so that we end up at just the right place at just the right time. This means that going forward, we don't know when things will happen, and we must be patient. We can't expect that we're going to have what we want when we want it. We can make a plan, just like King Solomon, but there were obstacles in his plan as well, and things that needed to be worked out. It didn't just happen. When you make a project management timeline, or you have an idea for how things are going to work out, it may not work out that way, but the best option is to pay homage to the Lord and keep our faith and keep our eyes focused on what the next step is. Maybe not what the end of the tunnel, the light looks like, and what we need to do to get there, but baby steps sometimes, right? We can't just fast forward. Although we want to. That's the society we're in. We want to quick, we want to fast, we want to now. But it doesn't work that way. Life doesn't work that way. And God doesn't work that way. Sometimes we got to be more than patient. So God's will means doing things which may not be easy or convenient for us personally, but ultimately draw us closer to His presence through the Holy Spirit. So with this, I thought about it, and God's will is something more profound than what we can, it's used all the time. I hear people say it, it's God's will, it's God's will. Well, God's will is not just for us to have harm come to us. I've seen people use it in that context. Well, somebody passed away. Somebody, it was God's will. That's not the way that God's will works. God's will works in our desires to be close to Him. So, before the cross, we couldn't be close to Him. We were, mankind was cut off from God. We had no relationship. And through Christ, we have a relationship with God. God's will means doing things that draw us closer, nearer to God. Trying to be, you hear another bumper sticker, I guess, since we're in the bumper stickers in this thing. But the what would Jesus do, right? It's trying to carry ourselves and mirror ourselves, which we never could. We can never live up to that. But it's an aspiration to try to be that way so that we can be closer to God. And God's will it might be something completely, if you look at Jesus' life, what He did when He came across the sick and the lame and the downtrodden, in our lives, that's what we often fail to do. Even myself. I don't know that many of you know, but I work in a nursing home, and I have been for quite a while, working in different nursing homes. And I found early on, I went into the field just to help somebody out, just to, get them over a rough patch because they didn't have a maintenance director. Once I got into the field, I realized that there was something more to it. It was more than just like a job. I got to know the residents and the people, and they're in the nursing home for whatever reason. It doesn't matter, but they're in their later years, and some of them are there until the end of their life. Some of them are there just to get better and then go back home. All different types of reasons. But I started knowing and getting to know, the people that were at the home, and taking a personal interest in them. And in doing so, there are times when, you will meet some of the best, most, awesome people that you can listen to, beautiful stories that touch your heart. And you can also meet people that are just difficult. They're hard to deal with. You don't want to talk to them. They literally just irritate you. Literally, they want everything. Can you get me this? Can I get can I get a Mountain Dew? I want a Mountain Dew. Give me a Mountain Dew. Like, you don't have any money? Let me buy you another one. You know, but I'm saying, you know, and you do and you do and you do what you can for these people. But I realize that sometimes I've learned I've gained a lot of wisdom from dealing and coping with those people that nobody wants to talk to. Nobody wants to deal with. Nobody wants to, you know, get to know because they're so difficult. And sometimes it is important for us to do the difficult thing and reach our hand out, extend our hand to the difficult person. And that could be somebody on the street. You could take my analogy of work and, you know, apply it anywhere. It's the mother at the grocery store who's got, you know, 3 kids and they're all the worst badass kind of kids you could ever know. And I mean, it's important that, you know, don't just look at those. You know, maybe there's something going on there. Maybe there's a need that needs to be met. And maybe you can meet that need by engaging that family. Or, you know, 1,000 other scenarios I can give you. I mean, one after the other after the other. And you know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's the bum on the street. It's the, you know, we have a tendency to walk away from those people and steer clear. But it's super important that we pay close attention to our surroundings and do those little, just like I gave you the analogy of the small decision and putting God first. What route do I take to work? That kind of thing. It's also important that in those instances that we put God in that plan too. You know, Lord, I don't have time. I'm running late for work. But should I engage this person? Should I talk to them? They look like they need me. You know what I mean? So it's important that we minister to others. There was a story of a pastor that I remember several years back. He took over a large church down in Georgia. I remember reading this story, and he took over it was like one of the mega churches. I mean, they had, you know, a couple thousand people at any given service, and he waited by the door, dressed in really filthy, nasty clothes, and dirt on his face, mud and stuff, and he just looked unkept, dirt under his fingernails. And he waited till everyone got in, started the service, and they were looking around, where's the new pastor at? You know he's supposed to be here. And he sat sort of in the back, and he ended up going up to the pulpit, and this is not necessarily, but it proves the point. He goes to the pulpit, and everyone is shocked. Like, he's like, I just passed by, you know, he goes, not one of you would look at me, talk to me, receive me in any good kind of way. And he goes, and I won't even go into how many of you said negative things or made comments. I'm not even going to go into that here. He goes, so lessons learned for today. Everyone go home, have a great week. See you next week. We'll try again. But I mean, it's proof in the point that we don't know who anyone is. And that was just I guess a tough love lesson for his congregation, but interesting nonetheless. So, with that, if I could get our servant leaders up again, we'll go ahead and do our offertory at this time.